what is the best everyman's performance car over the last 30 or 40 years. You've got various Ford RS's, GTIs, Nissan Skylines, even Porsche 911s. But for many, the ultimate performance car has been from BMW, the M3, the go-to performance car for the every person. This week, we're taking a look at the E90 generation of M3. Specifically, this E93 BMW M3 powered by the wonderful V8. Welcome this week to another fast and fun video. So the BMW M3, the E90 range as it was called, came in different variants. You had the E90, which was the saloon, you had the E92, which is the coupe and the most common, and then you had the E93, which was the convertible, all powered by the same 4-litre V8 engine, producing 414 brake horsepower. This one is the E93. It's the convertible version. It does come in at a heavier car at about 1800 kg compared to the E90 and E92 that were just over 1600 kg. So it's carrying nearly 200 kilograms heavier. And what will be really interesting today when we take it out for a drive is how that extra weight affects the car. But the benefit with the E93 is because it's a convertible, you're going to be able to hear that wonderful V8 sound. These cars were built from between 2007 and to 2013, and this specific one is a 2010 with about 77,000 miles on the clock. So what I'm going to do, as normal, we're going to take a walk around the car and look at some of the features of this BMW M3. This sort of metallic silvery blue colour, it looks absolutely stunning, and tell you the truth, take your number plate off, you would never believe this car is 12 years old. It is in stunning condition, it really is. I don't know how easy you can see, but the most obvious thing is on the bonnet, this big power bulge here, it really just sits proud, indicating there's something menacing under that bonnet with these cooling vents as well at the top. Absolutely fantastic looking, purposeful looking bonnet. It's sat on these 19-inch diamond cut alloys, and you've got these M3 vents at the side, wrapped in chrome, look really quite tidy. And then the wing mirrors, or aero wing mirrors, you see, with the cutout section. A lot of nice detailing on this car. As you go back, because it's the E93, obviously it's got the folding hardtop that goes into the boot, so you've got this sort of quite square and angular back to the E93. And if you take a look, this is probably one of my favourite views of the M3, is that wonderful quad exhaust there. And we'll take a look at what that sounds like on the road. I love that view of the M3. And really what the M3 stands for. Just take a quick look into the boot. So similar to my old Mercedes SL 500 in regard to there's this shelf here designed to make sure that all the luggage is safe, that when you open the top it'll just sit on, but you can lift this. So actually space is, there's a bag in there for reference, is actually it's quite spacious. You can certainly get a large suitcase in there, or quite a few soft bags. Oops, and that shuts back. Slow close on the boot. And then you look down the side of the car and it just looks so menacing. Look at the size of those rear tyres as well. Stunningly good looking car, this. It really is. And then we go inside, take a look. Frameless doors, windows, and then probably I think what BMW know best is in regard to the insides. Very classy, very BMW type. This one comes with the DCT transmission, which is a dual clutch system, so it'll be really interesting to see how that performs, not only under full acceleration but also sort of in slower normal type of driving. And obviously, naturally being an M3, it comes fully stacked. And the benefit with the M3 is you have two usable rear seats as well, so it is a proper 2+2 car here. And considering this, as I say, is 12 years old, there's very little wear on any of the seats at all. The lumbar supports, they're all in very good condition. Also intrigued, which we'll just talk briefly about on the drive, is the power EDC and DSC buttons, and we'll talk a little bit about those as well and see how they change the drive. And then if you zoom in there on the rev counter, what car's there? The red line starting at over 8,000. I think it revs to 8,300. A V8 revving to that level, absolutely fabulous. Can't wait to drive it. And then let's just have a quick look. How can we not look at the V8 engine? And then here under the bonnet, and there lies probably the core to the M3. This 4-litre V8, as I say, 414 brake horsepower. Engines like this, it's the modern look, really, covered in plastic covers. I look at these type of engines, and although I like to do quite a lot of DIY, I wouldn't even know where to start with an engine like this. There's just too much that could possibly go wrong. But wow, what an absolute beast. And you've got to say, there'll never ever be another V8 powered M3. Obviously we're moving to electrification, and you just think that, is it this V8? Is this the one that's going to stand the test of time and become a real iconic M3? Right, let's shut the bonnet, let's get in the car, and let's see what this car is like on the road. Straight away, I have to say the driving position is absolutely perfect. These leather seats, they fit my torso absolutely brilliant. Plenty of lumbar support, plenty of support on the thighs as well. Steering wheel is thick, it's chunky, it's nicely weighted, and early impressions are really good. The twin dials, but I just can't stop staring at that right hand dial that goes up to a hiddy 8,000 to 9,000 RPM. Well, that's a fantastic looking sight. What I'm particularly interested in is how this DCT gearbox, this dual clutch, transmission, copes, both on max attack, full committed speed, but also around town as well, and around through the villages, and how that is, because previous dual clutch systems sometimes have been a little bit clunky when it's been a bit slower in stop-start traffic. So we'll see how this copes in those conditions. The benefit of a dual clutch system though is that the next gear is already selected, so when you're sort of going up the gears, I'm expecting it to be quick, fast, rapid changes. The 3 buttons down on my near my left knee are actually quite important buttons. The first one's called power. Quite a misleading type of term actually. It doesn't offer any more power. It's not like the E90 M3, which adds another 100 horsepower to the engine output. So it doesn't affect that, but what it does do is the throttle mapping. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects the drive. The middle button's called EDC, which is electronic damper control, and that's basically your suspension settings in comfort, sport and sport plus. And then you have DSC, which is it's BMW's traction control. They call it dynamic stability control. I'm going to leave that fully engaged, but you can have that on, off, as in fully disengaged, or a bit of a halfway house, which will allow a little bit of break of traction that will save you. So I'm just going to press the M button now. So this puts it into M Sport mode, where it's all been pre-configured by the owner, so everything's a bit sharper now, suspension's firmer. I'm just going to drop it into paddles. So second gear now, 25 miles an hour, and see what it goes like. Oh. Wow. Wow. This is great. Just knocking it down there. This tight little right-hander. You can feel there's quite a bit of weight, but my gosh, this engine is unbelievable. Take it down again. And that auto blip. Back up. Oh, God, it's sharp. Yeah. This car is phenomenal. The engine is the dominant factor here. That engine is sweet, and the paddle shifts work an absolute pleasure. Running costs on the car are gonna be higher than your everyday car, but probably the owners told me only about £2,000 in the last 6 or 7 years of owning the car on repairs. In other words, things that were above and beyond standard maintenance activities and servicing. Well, if that's the case, that's really, really good. Obviously, things like tyres, brakes, etc. are going to be expensive, but so I expect that, but that's not bad for me. Right, M button, put it into manual, second gear, change lights up, change lights come on with M button. Oh, it's absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, it's definitely, you can feel it's the weight of the car, but I have to say that engine is fantastic. And yet you can knock it straight across, put it into drive, and it's just effortless GT cruising. And that's the thing I like about this car. I'm warming to this DCT. I can see why drivers like the DCT, because it gives you the paddle shift where you want to be on it, but it also gives you the comfort and the relaxation of an auto when you just want to cruise along. And it probably suits the E93 better than the others as well, because it's the car that seems to be able to do everything. I love the car, great car, but the engine is got to be close to one of the best engines I've ever driven. I was looking at prices of M3s, the E90 range. They're offering really good value for money at the moment. The bottom of the market for M3s for many years has been 10k, and it was the floor for the earlier E46, and certainly those M3s now are becoming again more and more collectible. But the E90s now start at about 15. There's a few below, but the majority at 15 to 20k will get you into a really nice E90. And one of the benefits of the E93 is they're about 3 or 4k cheaper than the comparable E92 coupe. And yes, you're carrying that extra 150, maybe 200 kilos of weight, but the engine is just so good. Unless you drive them back to back, I just don't think that's important. I think that 3 or 4k, which is a big chunk of money when you're only talking of perhaps 15k, or maybe 15k for the E93, it's probably going to be something like 18 and 19 for an E92 coupe. That's a sizable chunk cheaper. So what's my summary of the BMW M3 E93? Well, I have to say, a little bit of a skeptic. It's the convertible. It's got the DCT gearbox. It's probably not the one that I'd necessarily go for. But I'll tell you something, it has been a revelation in more ways than one. The inside, the driving position, so important in the driver's car. You get a really good driving position. This is outstanding. I love the interior. It's typical BMW. It's what they know. It's what they do well. It's absolutely fantastic. But the driving experience has actually really, it's fantastic. And it is dominated by the engine. That V8 is a work of art. V8s, to me, were supposed to be low-down, torquey engines that would pull you along, not rev and scream at 8,300 RPM. I mean, that's just not what they do. That's VTEC, Honda VTEC RPM. Unbelievably, the scream of this V8. I've never driven a V8 like it. Incredible engine. Yes, those 414 horsepowers are a little bit blunted because it is a little bit on the porky side at 1,800 kilograms. The DCT gearbox, it's an absolute joy to use. It really is. Around town, it's not clunky, it's not jerky, not at all. It drives smooth and well. And the paddle shift. The paddle shifts, to me, are always normally a bit of a letdown. This is quite absolutely the best paddle shift I've ever used. It's an absolute joy to use. And it just the way it auto blips on the downshifts is brilliant. So there's so many benefits. Yes, I think it's a little bit heavy. That's probably the only negative. And then you wrap up values. These can be had for 3 or 4k cheaper than the comparable E92. Suddenly, if you want that one car that does it all, the GT, the luxury, the performance, the family car and the convertible, the E93's got a lot going for it. And if I had 15k for one car to do everything, the E93 would be right at the top of the list. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please thumbs up, subscribe, stay tuned. More next week.